This episode was super interesting. Another investor story. We have Kelly Nelson, who has 21 renovations under her belt, 9 joint ventures, and some subdivisions. So we want to get on more of these investor stories because there's so much insight to be gained. Like, there are so many deals that she runs through where she's made 50,000, 100,000, 180,000. There was one where she made over $120,000 in 6 weeks. These types of deals are possible. I'm very lucky enough in my business to have Kelly as a buyer's agent helping us find some amazing deals. But this session is all about her investor story, how she got started in property investing, what's she doing right now, what kind of deals is she seeing, and what are the deals that she's done. Hey everyone, my name is Joe Tucker. Along with Jeff Miles, we created Oz Property Investors, Australia's largest property investment forum with over 70,000 property investors. And each week we interview experts like Kelly, who tell their story and gather the insights so you don't have to make the same mistakes. So jump on into this session. Let's go.
And we are live on Oz Property Investors. We bring the big names and we have the big fun. And tonight we are having immense fun with Kelly. How you going? What's happening? Kelly Nelson.
Hello.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Welcome to the show, Kelly.
Yeah. It's great to be back after my week's hiatus. I am refreshed and from my 5-minute power nap, but I hope everybody's fantastic out there and feeling enthusiastic and energetic for this Wednesday night. Tonight we're going to have a fantastic, or this podcast is going to be great. It's going to be for that person who thinks I'm stuck with borrowing capacity. Where am I going next, or how am I getting to there? It'll be about the lessons and the learnings, but also about creative ways, because that's what we're all about. I have conversations myself in messages. People saying, "Well, how do they get to this thing?" And you actually unpack some of the learnings, and you're like, okay, I see how we unpick that thing." So I'm excited to hear about some of the ways that you've been able to do it, Kelly, because you've managed to pick up sort of in excess of double digits, so 20 plus sort of deals in the last sort of, I don't know, let's say close to a decade, around that sort of time. So which is just amazing. Like when you think about it, that's at least around sort of 2 years. So good on you for doing it, and excited to share that. So let's get into it. Let's get started. Actually, I'll introduce you, but how are you going, Joe?
Oh, mate, I'm fabulous. I'm super excited. I love an investor story. We had amazing investor story on last week, and Kelly has done amazing work. I don't want to spoil your intro, but she crushes it in the property space. And I feel like you live and breathe property, Kelly. Like it's your hobby, as well as everything that you do 24/7.
It is a bit of a hobby, yes. It doesn't feel that exciting from day to day, but when I get everything together and look back on it, like I've done for today, it does look exciting from this point of view, looking back.
What's not exciting about making money? But Joe, I want to turn the mic a little bit on you though. What are your hobbies anyway? I don't know. What are your, apart from property?
What are my hobbies? Mate, my hobbies is property and going for a walk, getting coffee, so I can look at more properties. That is my property. Also, I like surfing as well. I mean, I like surfing.
Like surfing. So there we go. I have to get into surfing. Great. Okay, so Kelly, who's a person? If you've, a lot of people actually know. We were getting messages and all that sort of stuff. We didn't talk about that. We will talk about it. So you've worked in a couple of different industries. You've worked in sort of car sales, travel agent, and in 2018 you decided to pull the plug on that and say, I'm going to become a full-time renovator. That's an interesting sort of transition, travel agent to renovator. Like it's and currently you are sort of kicking on as a buyer's agent with property principals, finding great properties as well. But a brief synopsis: 21 renos under your belt, master of performing, transforming properties into golden opportunities, including 9 joint ventures. So that's fantastic. You've been able to pull that together. A mentor as well, and I think you're bigger than that as well. You sort of look at, you love seeing time with your dog, and you're a keen rescue of pound dogs advocate. So which I think is something that is a bit of your why to get, as well as sort of travel and having that passive income just to follow your sort of partner's career. So how good is that? Like you do heaps of things. So yeah, there you go. not
That's
just me.
More hobbies than me. Great work. Well, yeah, I feel like you even undersold that, like a little bit, Jeff. Kelly was also a renovation consultant for one of the amazing renovators out there.
Belinda.
And she was
Yeah,
she was teaching people how to find these renovation deals, how to run these renovation deals, so that they can go out there and make money. You've done 21 renovations, you've done 9 joint ventures. Like, that's a boatload of deals, and subdivisions as well. And I'm now lucky enough to have you in our business as a buyer's agent that helps our clients find some of these amazing deals. Like, I do introductions to you to people, and I'm like, Kelly is amazing, and she's done more than me, and you're in far safer hands than with me. But yeah, we're still working side by side in this, which is nice. But I wanted to unpack the story, because I think you don't just end up with 9 subdivisions, renovating and teaching, coaching, and all of this fun stuff. Like, how did it all start? How did you get into this game, this property space?
I think I look back on it now. I didn't realize at the time, but that just little things that I've accumulated when I was younger. My parents weren't that well off, and they were building a business on the side. So Amway, if you've ever heard of Amway. Yeah. So my parents did Amway, and they used to get cassette tapes to play in the car, and they were like motivational tapes. And, you know, you don't have to settle for a normal life. You can make things for yourself, that type of thing. So I got exposed to a lot of that, although I don't know how my brother managed to not get it, I think, as much as I did, but somehow that worked.
what motivational were you? Was it like Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins? Was Tony Robbins around? Was he a little after?
No.
Before?
Amway would have had their own people. I don't know who they were. I was too young to listen too long. Most of them had American accents, so who knows who they were. But it was all about, believing in yourself and connecting with people and all sorts of lessons that I think I probably just absorbed. And, my subconscious hopefully remembers a lot of it. And maybe that kind of, helped.
I love me some Zig Ziglar. It's like, I always remember, I listened to hundreds of hours of his content, and his most famous thing is, like, you can get anything you want if you help anybody, if you help any people get what they want. So it's more about sort of value and contribution, that sort of thing. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. So let's you go, Joe. Sorry, you're going to ask something, man.
No, I mean, that's amazing. It's great you were exposed to that. I mean, not a lot of people get into that. I think my first book like that would have been at 16 or 17. I think it was Rich Dad Poor Dad or one of those. So it's very lucky that you were able to experience that at a young age, and I think that helps. That helps along the journey. Yeah,
it definitely did. When I was a little bit older, also, I didn't realize until more recently when someone pointed it out to me, but my pop here was diagnosed with lupus, and he was a plumber, so he couldn't actually do plumbing work. And he actually would buy a block of land and get all of his mates together and build a house and live in it for a couple of years, and then sell the house and then go buy another block of land. So I was watching this my whole life too, which I didn't actually click until recently that he was a flipper too. So, yeah, interesting. So the things that you pick up that you don't realize that you are until you look back and notice and realize.
So how'd you get into property? Like, how does this all connect into the property world?
Well, I always wanted to get into property. I remember even when I was younger, getting my first job and saving the money, and the money was for furniture, and the furniture was to eventually put into the house that I would buy. So somewhere along the line, I picked up that owning property was going to be a good idea, and as soon as I could do it, the better. So I always wanted to get a place of my own, and then eventually an investment property. But I didn't really take, I don't know where it came from, but I didn't really take the journey much further than that in my head. I just knew that that's where I wanted to go, and I'd figure the rest out along the way. Yeah.
And you certainly have. So should we, on the note, should we kick into the first deal? Because I sort of looked at some of these, and I want to hear the gory detail. It's going to be very sort of conversational and just exciting to sort of unpack your journey along the way. and people are
Yeah.
sort of already talking about financing and all that sort of thing. And we might as well, maybe is it too early to talk about finance, Joe? Should we?
Oh, I mean, what was your first deal? How did you even get into this thing? And let's get some lessons. So this is the amazing Kelly. Which ones are they? Both foster dogs?
They're both fosters. The black and white one is foster fail. So we've had her for 4 years now. So she was our first, and we failed at fostering her, and we rescued her full time. And then the other one, that's Dora, and she has since moved on to a beautiful home. And we now have a 14-year-old ish, because we don't know how old he is, black Labrador Lofty that is staying with us, and he needs a home to go to soon, but he's staying here for as long as he needs to.
If anyone needs a lab,
an old black lab that you got to lift in and out of the car, he's a happy chappy.
When he's being lifted. Oh, good. Okay, cool. Well, let's jump into it. Okay, so give us the story on this. So
this is the first property that I bought. So I was working selling cars, and I remember I saved like $15,000 or $20,000, and I went to the bank, like the bank that I banked with. I didn't know any better. I went in and I'm like, I've got $15,000. There was a first home buyers grant at this point in time too, so that paid for 100% of the stamp duty, and it might have covered the purchase costs as well. It might have been an extra $5,000 to cover all the purchase costs. So I knew that whatever I had could be 10% of what I could buy. So I went into the bank with $15,000 or $20,000, and they said, well, you can only buy something worth $200,000. And I knew that I wanted land content, and I knew I could only afford a townhouse with that sort of money. And I went back to work, and I was like, well, I just got to keep working until I got $30,000. And I thought, okay, now I can buy something worth $300,000. This property here is on a small block of land in Mount Cotton, which is Redland Bay area in Brizzy. And I knew that these properties were selling for about $330,000. So I knew I still couldn't afford it quite yet, but I was getting impatient. So I ended up going door knocking to the houses on the smaller blocks, because I knew that they were the ones that might sell to me possibly for $300,000 if I cut out the agent, because then I wouldn't have to pay the agent's commission, and they would possibly be happy to sell to me. I got super lucky, because this isn't always the best strategy. It might take 100 doors to knock on. I knocked on about 10, and I was just about to give up. I was starting to get cranky and realize that, people either weren't answering their doors or weren't interested, and this was never going to work. But then I found a lady who was painting and getting ready to sell her place, and she said, I'm meeting the agent this afternoon. I said, please don't sign anything. I'd love to buy this house off you. It's a beautiful house. I love your brown feature wall. It's amazing. You've done such a great job. So bought it for $300,000.
Done, locked in. And so I guess your sales skills kind of came into their own there, because I mean, you get rejected a lot in the sales game. Like, I imagine car sales, you see, what are the numbers there? You see like 100 people walk in, and then you sell like 1 car, 3 cars a month, or 5 cars a month, or something like that.
Tend to trying to remember. It depends on the brand that you're selling, and if they've just released a new model and that type of thing. But I think I was aiming for 10 to 20 a month in cars.
Yeah.
And my hit rate was like 1 in 5, 1 in 6 of people that walked in, like a qualified lead.
Yeah. So you got used to that kind of, like, 1 in 5 is a lot of rejection. But then you just went around the places, knocked on the doors. What was the pitch like? Was it like, hey, I want to buy your property? And how many doors did you go to? Was it like the first 5 and you got one sold, or?
I reckon it had to have been less than 20.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a whole lot. I got super lucky. I was thinking, this is stupid. This is not going to work. But yeah, it worked.
Can you take us through that process of how you decided that was the way you're going to buy a property? Because you got rejected, it was too hard for the agent, so you thought, I'm going to do it myself. This is much easier knocking on a door. Is that?
Yeah, 100%. And even the bank that I went to, the first time I went into the bank and I told them I was going to buy a house, they looked at me. I was 20 years old, and I was single. And they pretty much said, I don't know what the wording was, but they pretty much said, wait until you've got a boyfriend and then come back together and you can buy a house.
Jeez, this is 2007. Goodness me.
And I was like, no, I'm going to save up enough money. I'm going to make enough commissions to get you to lend me the money to buy this house. And, you know, I just did it. I got stuck in. I worked 6 days a week. Yeah, at that time, I used to drive to people's houses. If they were like, oh, I don't know when I can get in to test drive the car, I'd be like, what time do you finish work? I'll be at your house. I'd go to their house. I'd drive around the block. And if they were like unsure that they were going to buy the car, sometimes I'd be like, I'm just going to not leave until they buy the car. Like,
you guys, I'm going to stay here tonight.
I've often, yeah. I mean, I hope you don't look back at what that property's probably worth now. I mean, have you done that? I've done it myself on properties. I'm like, ugh.
oh, I always have a bit of a look back, but I really appreciate what every property that I've bought and sold has given me. It hasn't my strategy with that. I had that property for 13 years. It was the first one I ever got, and then I did nothing in property. I went traveling. So that property taught me heaps. I didn't lose money. It was positively geared for 13 years. 11 I had it for. It was a PPR for 1 year, and it was like 5,000 a year positive for the rest. Sorry, my numbers.
Wow.
Whatever that says is right. Whatever I'm saying is not right.
Yeah, whatever the math says. Yeah. We don't do public math here, so that's okay. That's unreal. Okay. But I mean, it's interesting timing because 2007, and then you bought it for 300,000. How much did you spend on? I guess it was your home that you moved into. Was it meant to be an investment, or?
Yeah. But I knew I needed somewhere to live, so I thought I'll live in it. I actually sublet one of the rooms out, which proved to not be the best idea. That wasn't a great housemate to have. But I was never there anyway. It wasn't an area that I wanted to be in. I would go hang out with my friends that lived in Kangaroo Point and at West End. I go stay at their house all the time. I really wasn't at the house, but I was there for a year until my 1 year for stamp duty and everything like that ended. And then I moved out into a rental, and I put people that wanted to live in this property. So they rented it off me.
Yeah, nice. Well, and then you sold it in 2017. So the growth really wasn't too crazy, actually.
No, I missed the cycles. But, you know, I remember turning 18, 19 and going like, how cheap are properties right now? But I don't have a deposit. I can't buy it. And then, so the boom was right before I could physically afford. So I watched a boom, and then everybody's saying, oh, property's too expensive to buy. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Now I will, and I'll get in. So I learned heaps off that property.
What were the kind of takeaways? Like, what were the main ones that you kind of, gathered?
I don't know. I think better to be in the market than not at all. And if you're not sure, do your best to work out what you're the surest on. Like I knew that I needed land content, so I didn't buy the townhouse. I waited a little bit longer. I also learned that, you know, everyone's cycle isn't always 10 years. Some are less, some are more. I was quite far out of the city. Quite a lot of people said to me that, you know, Mount Cotton is going to go boom in another however many years' time. But for now, it's just too far away for people. People were still thinking it was too far away from everything. So, but it was what I could afford at the time. So I bought what I could afford. It was either that or nothing, or a townhouse in Woodridge.
Yeah. And what happens if you went further out? Like, did you consider going Ipswich or Logan or further?
No, I moved to Brisbane pretty recently before that, and I lived in Brizzy, and I lived on the Gold Coast. So, and I worked in Springwood. Sorry, I worked at all the car yards on the motorway there in Springwood. So I wanted to be close to work. I'd sat in the traffic driving up from the Gold Coast before. Drove. Yeah. I mean, if I could have gotten closer to the city, I would have, but that was the closest to Brisbane city I could get.
So then what happened? So you held that one the entire time. And then you got the bug, you took equity out. Like what happened? How did you get into the next one?
Well, first of all, I took off for a big point of time. I decided that I wasn't passionate about selling cars anymore, and maybe I was passionate about travel because I wanted to travel. So I went, became a travel agent, took off overseas, lived in England, lived in New Zealand, traveled Europe. So it was a big gap.
Wow. How long did you do that for?
um,
The years from
2 years, 2 years, a year in England, year and a half in England, 9 months in New Zealand. I only moved to New Zealand because my partner's English and we had to wait for the Australian visa to be approved. And I couldn't live in I couldn't live in England anymore. He couldn't live in Australia yet because the visa hadn't been signed off. So we went and lived in New Zealand for 9 months. It was great.
That's so funny.
Was
That's so similar to my story. I met my
Yeah.
wife. We moved to New Zealand because her visa ran out, and then we moved to England for about 2 years, and while we waited for her Australian visa to come through. So that's
There
so
you go.
funny.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
know that. That's a bit of
Yeah.
fun. Okay, so we had some
was
travel, we had some fun, we had some
Yeah.
life livings and learnings. And then what was your thoughts around property? Because this property was giving you $5,000. Were you like, oh, hell yeah, this is spending money for my holiday and fun times?
No,
Let's-
it was pay
No?
down the loan and watch but I was regularly looking at the value of my property and it wasn't exciting. So, it wasn't getting me too excited about coming back to release equity. But I was thinking at the time, hold on to everything that I buy forever, like just keep accumulating. That's what I was originally thinking.
Yeah.
And then came back to Australia, started working. I was a travel agent again, knew I wanted to get into something different. And then I just started educating myself, looking around at different property courses and looking at free information and then going to weekend seminars and just listening to what other people had done and listening to, could I do that? Or I could do that, and renovating really struck a chord because I was like, I can do that. It requires little investment. Like you can do a cosmetic, paint, flooring, something like that, simple stuff, and flip it over. And I thought I could do that.
Was that probably 2013, 2014, or that sort of date this where it was that you discovered that? Awesome.
So 2018, 2017, 2019. Yeah.
There's like a gap of nine. I suppose you've sold Redland Bay. Can we ask what is it that led that to you selling Redland Bay?
Yeah, so I'd already started doing like education courses and listening to stuff. And I had a spreadsheet. I got a spreadsheet given to me. It's called an opportunity cost analysis. And you work out, if you hold the property, how much equity you can get out, or if you sell the property, how much equity you can get out, and also how much cash flow it provides you if you hold on to it. And I did it on the property. And I'm like, well, I can't get any equity out regardless of this spreadsheet because the bank actually doesn't want to give me any more money because it's saying, even though my interest rate is 6%, it's saying it's 8% because they have to do all their stuff. And they're basically saying they're not going to give me any money. So, I hadn't actually sold that first property that I bought until I bought my second property and came across that I realized that the bank's not going to lend me more than 2. I was tapped out because travel agents don't earn that much money. So,
Tough gig. Really would be.
Yeah, it's a rubbish job. You got to love travel, otherwise you wouldn't bother.
Telling the stories. Okay. So you then moved from the rental because you were like rent vesting, I guess, at the end of it. You moved out of your PPI, went traveling, then got a rental back here in Australia. Purchased unseen as tenant refused to allow inspections. Sounds like a quality tenant to get a hold of. I'd love to acquire a house with this tenant.
Well, I saw an opportunity, and part of the education stuff I learned was, hey, look for something that it's going to turn other people off. So, I researched what the other units in this complex look like, and I had a clause in there to say that I had to see it before it went unconditional. So I wasn't just going to settle on it. But it was putting so many people off. No one was putting an offer in on it. So, and I actually, I'll just tell a quick side story with this. We moved to the Gold Coast because my partner coaches rugby league, and we couldn't get a rental property because he moved to coach football, but he still didn't have paying job to put on a lease to say that, we could pay rent. So I had my job as a travel agent, but he didn't really have a job. So we took over somebody's lease that we couldn't afford. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom unit in First Avenue in Burleigh Heads, which is right on the water.
Ooh, Burleigh.
Beautiful
Gee,
location.
like
And
a bit of Burleigh.
yeah, beautiful spot. And but we couldn't really afford that rent. But once again, just from the education, I've learned that, like, hey, Airbnb is starting to become a thing. Maybe I could Airbnb it out. I didn't really want to share a bathroom, so we had 2 bathrooms, and we Airbnb'd it out every weekend. So we had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to ourselves, and every weekend we had it booked, and that's how we saved the deposit for this, the one that I'm talking about now. So that one, not only did we buy it because nobody could see it because the tenant wouldn't let them in, but we saved the deposit from Airbnb income.
How
So the
similar?
second,
How
sorry,
similar
so
is this story to what people are experiencing right now? Like, I hear it all the time. I just bought one property. I've bought another one. I've got 3 properties, and now I'm tapped out. How am I going to overcome this? I can't overcome it. And then here you are saying, well, I'm just going to work my ass off and be uncomfortable because I have a goal and I want to achieve it. And how am I going to do that? How am I going to increase my income? How do I use this property to its fullest? I'm going to Airbnb it. Unreal. Great work.
Yeah. So stoked about that.
Sorry, Jeff, I cut you off.
Oh no. I was just trying to clarify that I understood that. So you use the second property Airbnb income to then sort of save the deposit for the third property you're going to buy.
No, sorry. Before we bought the second one, we had to rent. I didn't have enough money to buy anything, and we rented, and we couldn't afford the rental, but it was in a beautiful location with an extra bedroom and a bathroom. So we Airbnb'd that out.
Are you allowed to Airbnb? Were you allowed to Airbnb it out? Yeah. Okay.
No, and it was a private rental, and I made sure I was very friendly with the person that gave us the rental. She knew that she wasn't paying a property manager to manage it either, but it was kind of when Airbnb was starting out too. So I don't think she would have been. I always thought, I wonder if she ever goes and checks Airbnb and sees her unit on there, but it never happened. I was paying rent. I kept it clean and tidy. I just thought if she'll approach me if it becomes a problem, and then we'll try and work out a way that we can move forward. We never had bookings that far in advance anyway. So yeah, I'd have to just work it out.
That's the interesting. That reminded me of something I heard the other day, and I was trying to figure out, because in Australia we don't really do this thing called house hacking, which it's sort of like, I wouldn't say what you're doing there is house hacking, but house hacking is a concept where you rent out part of the house, a couple of bedrooms or something, and you live in part of it, and then you essentially are able to pay for the mortgage without sort of make it neutrally geared on a PPOR, and it was on.
But also there's tax implications of that, right? So you have to be very careful when you.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do that. I'm just saying I was like, wow, that's actually, because generally people don't talk about it in Australia because it's just too hard. There's just those ways, that creative ways to continue to invest in property. Because if you hadn't have done that, you wouldn't have been able to pick up that property in Burleigh, a couple of streets away from the beach, which then you're able to make, what was it, 120K on it? Roughly, what was it? 100? I mean, 103. There you go, masters. 2 years.
It's amazing. Yeah, look at that. What did you do to this place? You bought it in 2016, and then you sold it 2 years later, and you made 380,000. So you made 100 grand.
Yeah, all the work was pretty basic reno stuff. I was still learning how to renovate, but it was an enclosed kitchen, so I did open up a wall. So that the first photo you can see on the left is the dining room, and then the kitchen is behind that wall that's sticking out, and then the photo on the far right is the new kitchen with the wall gone. So essentially I lost a dining room, but I got a massive entertainer's kitchen with a bench that you can sit around, or you could remove that bench and put a table in there.
And did you need strata approval to rejig and reshift and all of that stuff?
At the time I thought, get in, get out. I didn't want to be waiting for approval for months and have problems with people telling me that, they didn't like what I thought I'd do. They wanted me to provide them quotes and stuff like that. I just did it. I just thought I'll ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Oh, geez. Yeah, let's throw it. Can we throw the disclaimer? I mean, I'm throwing up the. I mean, yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
we people asked us to do it, so the audience said it. But yeah,
People are
don't take
getting
any
scared.
of this. Like, go and seek it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yes, this is not financial advice. This is definitely not financial advice.
It's not strata advice either.
Property professional, right? You speak to your accountant because we don't want to talk tax. Speak to your strata lawyer. Speak with your mortgage broker, and speak to yourself because doing these things has worked quite nicely for you. So hats off to you, Kelly, for actually making it happen. Okay.
Look, everything else in there other than the wall being removed, you're allowed to paint the unit. You're allowed to put new tiles down. You shouldn't need to ask for permission for that. But yes, removing the wall was something that, I should have got permission for. But like I said,
what would strata do in that situation? Would they sort of fine you, or like would they say put the wall back? I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Well, essentially, there were other units in there that had renovated, and if the other owners were clever, they would realize that renovating these units, opening up the floor plan, is increasing the value of not only my unit but their units. But you always get a Karen, so yeah.
Oh, Karen. Yeah. I feel for Karen. So yeah, what did your research process look like for this purchase? Because I imagine it was a little bit more involved, a little bit you're educating yourself. So what did it look like for this purchase?
Well, it was quite an easy research to do because it was like, what can I afford? And then that ruled out like 90% of the research I needed to do. That kitchen, the cabinet in the old section is the original cabinets, and I bought new cabinets for the new section. I just made sure I color matched them, and they're separated by a freestanding oven, so they're actually deeper than the other ones. And then I matched them in with the overheads, and I was really on a budget. I was like, I don't want to overcapitalize here. I don't know what I'm doing. I just kept it as simple as possible. Those floor tiles were original. Where the wall got removed, I just got some tiles that matched the tiles that were already there and got a tiler to come in and put them in place. So it wasn't amazing. It was just, swap the vanity out, put tiles over tiles. If you tap on old tiles, you can see if there's any hollow ones there. If they're glued down really well, it's quite acceptable to tile over tiles. So I just learned as I went and tried to do as little as possible, but make the biggest impact that I could.
Looks really good.
Yeah, it looks great. And it's given you $100,000. So how much did you spend on that? Like reno-wise?
Reno-wise would have been less than 30.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then why did you decide to sell? So you decided to sell this one in 2017. Yeah. We then bought this in 2016. So you had two. Now you released that one in 2017, and then you released this one in 2018. So now you have no property, but you've got capital and you've got borrowing capacity.
Yeah. And at this time I had two loans. So I had a loan on both properties, and I researched the loan terms, and I could do what's called a portable loan, or substitute the security. So I sold both of those properties, and I rolled over the loan into an account with the bank where it just sat there while I bought the next property. And I knew that I wanted to do renovation strategy. So I wanted to buy it, renovate it and sell it. And in some cases, live in it as well. So not always, but sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to learn a little bit more about that. Before we do that, we'll jump into our first ad and then go in.
There's nothing worse than going into a situation unprepared, especially when that situation is purchasing one of the most expensive assets of your life against a trained property expert in the form of a real estate agent. It's a scary thought, but it is a skill that can be taught. Do you want to learn how to become fully prepared when buying a property so you can get out there, buy your dream home or investment property without the fear of actually messing it up? Scott Agate, the founder and expert property negotiator at Hello House, has been helping people buy their properties by stepping in and negotiating with the agents and saving his clients tens of thousands and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars. Scott has now decided to share all that he's learned over the past 28 years in real estate so you can go out there and do the exact same thing on how to find a property, analyze that property, negotiate on that property, and transact on it to get the best results. He's created the Get Buyer Ready course, which is a step-by-step guide on how you too can become an expert property negotiator. It's the easy way of how you can avoid all of these agent games and get the best purchase price on that dream home or your investment property. The course is in short bites for busy people with no fluff at all. Just all the information you need to get buyer ready and secure that next property with confidence at the best price. Scott has been kind enough to give our community a massive discount with the link below. Sign up today before you even think about putting an offer on that next property, and it will be one of the best decisions you ever make. Well, there you go. Jazzy.
We are back. So where we're at, are we transitioning into purchase free? So you sort of had the ability to
we might have to start moving through them, yeah.
But what happened? Well, what was the personal transition into that? Because I don't know. You've been doing little buys and hold. You made a little bit of money into it. Was there an educational aspect to it where you signed up to a course and it was like, oh, light bulb moment. Holy crap! I can flip and make 50 grand each time and keep going like that, or what was the catalyst?
Essentially, I'd done a course. I signed up for it. There was a lot of content. I made the decision to leave my job in the travel agency, knowing that that's not what I wanted to do. And I went and worked in a real estate office on reception. I knew I didn't want to work in real estate. I didn't want to do sales. I didn't want to be a property manager. However, I thought if I could work on reception and be a fly on the wall, listen to what goes on, how they talk, and then in between taking phone calls, no one's going to question why I'm looking at property. Yeah. And then in my spare time, I took that course and I did it like a university degree. Like I was studying like every night. I'd be reading and listening to recordings, and and that's when I realized that I could do this. I could move forward by doing joint ventures with people because my income wasn't amazing. I could use the loans that I'd set up as portability loans to get me started until I had the more experience behind me to sell myself to joint venture partners. And then, I did that for nearly a year. And then I decided that I wasn't making enough of a move. Like I hadn't bitten the bullet and left the job. So I got coaching. I got coached by somebody who has been doing property for a few years, and she coached me one-on-one once every 2 weeks to, talk to me about what I was doing, how I was finding deals, what I was going to do about moving forward. So
I want to take a few steps back because there's a lot there that was just mentioned, and that person just alluded to it. What was the goal? What did you sort of set for yourself at that time to do?
Well, the end goal is to be doing something that I've got control over doing rather than working in a job that, I wasn't really enjoying the travel agency work anymore. It was going to work every day. And I was like, why am I turning up to a place that I don't really want to be at? There were parts of my day that I really enjoyed helping people and I loved travel. So it was easy for me to sell it. But I wanted to move into something that I could just make my own, and property had always kind of felt a little bit like that. So I just went with it. I went with how I felt like I could do it. And then when I started doing the education, I was like, great, in, a period of time, this is going to be passive income because at some stage I'm going to be able to start holding back onto these things. I know I had to clear the two that I started with because I needed the equity out to move forward. But I knew that if I kept doing some chunk deals and I could gather the cash together, so that eventually I would be able to start holding them again. And then I could, get passive income that way.
For those watching at home, I want to, because you just mentioned a term that's probably potentially quite powerful, maybe new to people, is that chunk deal. What does that sort of mean? Deal?
So chunk deal means that you are getting a lump sum out of the deal. In most cases, some people might make a loss on some deals. You do everything that you can to make a profit, and that is a chunk of money. Taxman takes his cut too. One of the big things that people always ask me is like, how do you get around capital gains tax? It's like, if you're making money, you're going to pay tax. It's when you're doing it full time, it's not called capital gains, it's called income tax, because it's your income from what you're doing. You're a full-time property business person, you're flipping houses. Yes, I'm not
if Joe's
I'm not an accountant. I'm not an accountant.
Go and seek. But that's
The question. This is actually one that's quite interesting. A coach and mentor make a huge difference to your mindset. Did getting a coach change things for you? Like, was that an amazing experience? Was it like, meh? Was it worth the investment? Like, can you talk to that? Because I think people do all these crazy things, but then they don't follow people, or they don't get the education from people that are further along their journey. But how was that for you?
Yeah, I think the coach, she was just like a backstop to, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I think it's a good idea. From what I've learned, it should be a good idea. Do you think it's a good idea? And, if she started to freak out, I realized I was going the wrong way. And
she's
then,
like, how do I say this nicely?
So just to guide me and to keep me accountable, because if in 2 weeks I didn't do what I said I'd do like 2 weeks ago, then I felt like an idiot. She would have been okay. She's like, oh, well, you're paying me good money to sit here and talk about the weather. But, if you want to get the most out of me, you've got to put in the work. And then more recently, like, I've presented deals to her and I'm like, oh, I don't know about this deal. And she's like, if you don't buy this deal, I'll find somebody else that will. And I'm like, okay, cool. It is a good deal. Great. Excellent. Just the reassurance. So, yeah.
Super interesting. Okay. Have you got any have you done any like coaching in other aspects of your life? Like this?
No, I've never, I'm just trying to think, like, I wasn't a sports person or anything like that. It was just, I knew that I wanted to make a serious go at this, and I invested money and time in doing education, and I was just like, I wasn't using it. So I was like, I need somebody just to help me along here and hold myself accountable. That's what it was.
Yeah.
For. I would strongly recommend anybody who wants to get better at doing something to go and coach a junior sports team. That is incredibly one of the most challenging things I've ever personally done. It was quite tough, because you sort of, and this is when I was sort of 2021, and some of these kids were 13 and 14. I was just like, wow, these kids are only a couple of years younger than me. But no, if anybody wants a real sort of baptism of fire, just go and coach a junior sports side. Give yourself up, and you feel really good after it all. Like I was starting to ride the wins and losses more than anyway. So we talk more property. Next deal. Where are we up to?
Okay. So now we're a renovator, right? Like Kelly has advanced to renovator status. You've committed. You've quit your job. We've hired a coach. We're now into it. What is deal number 3 looking like? PPR, Reno flip, unit in North Bris, Vegas.
Yes. So I rolled over the loan from the Gold Coast unit into this unit. So it's the same purchase price too, which was interesting. This I bought very much under market. At the time I wanted to buy this unit, my unit on the Gold Coast was for sale, but it hadn't sold yet. So I approached the agent and I tried to use something that I'd learned in my training. I tried to give the seller 3 offers. One was a low offer with a short settlement, and then one was a medium offer with a medium settlement term, then one was a high offer. Sorry, this is where I get confused of what I just said. The opposite of the first one. And what I was trying to achieve is trying to make it look like it was a good thing for them to take a long settlement, because I knew that I was still trying to sell my unit and I didn't want them to do a quick settlement, but I wanted to have this under contract. In the end, they came back to me and they asked for that. They accepted my offer of the highest amount of money for the shortest term. So it blew up in my face. That was maybe I didn't execute properly. I don't know. But anyway, after I sold my unit on the Gold Coast, I came back and this unit was still for sale. So I was in an even better position. I'd love to have this position available to me in this current market. That would be amazing, where you come back a couple of months later and a place is still for sale and you can be cheeky with your offer, which is a bit unrealistic right now in most markets that I know. But yeah, at the time it was a strategy that I used and it worked, and it was a really ugly unit and it needed a renovation, and no one could see past how bad the renovation needed was.
Yeah.
Can we talk about which part of, I mean, I don't know, sure this is a couple of years ago now, so probably can, but which part of North Brisbane was this? Are we talking like
Playfield.
sort of, okay, so kind of probably closer than Chermside, I think. But yeah, there you go. And that was a 1960s, not 1690s, but I mean,
Oh yeah,
1690s.
yeah, here with my math
Sorry,
again.
I didn't do that on my-
Throw a bit of
Okay, so what-
dyslexia in there.
What did you do? So all the difference I can see is that you took this wall out, right? In the kitchen and living. You just made it open plan.
And I added a toilet because you can see there was one bedroom and then this weird shower closet. So it wasn't 2 bathrooms. It was and the people that were there before were using that shower as a wardrobe. Like they weren't even using it. So I moved the toilet in the bathroom forward and opened up the wall. It was a small ensuite, but I made it look pretty good. And this is where my renovating really came in. And then my choice of stylist was the winner of this property. So the stylist definitely paid for themselves.
Really? Okay.
I think there's another next slide has got the photos.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, here we go.
I'm not making it up.
Wow.
I don't know if I've jammed them on there too. I don't know how big everyone's screens are. If you've got a mobile phone, you're not going to be able to see anything.
The left side is the before. Obviously, the right side is after.
Wow.
What's this pipe? What's this about?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a pipe, and I thought, should I get rid of it? And then I thought it's copper, and I thought, why not polish it up and make it look like, because it goes with the industrial theme. These floors were concrete, and they were made with Brisbane River Rock. So they polished up, like normally you can't, if you pour a concrete slab, you can't just polish it. You have to pour a certain type of concrete slab to polish. But these floors were so old and done with so much rock in them. I actually polished the concrete floors in the living areas and the hallway and the kitchen and everything. And they came up absolutely beautiful. And we went with an industrial kind of theme.
Okay. So so why do you say that the styling sold this thing?
Well,
how much value did it create?
Value wise, I don't know, 50, 80K, something like that, I reckon. Yeah. In between the agent and the stylist, who actually was the agent and the stylist at the time. So it's Clayfield's really close to Ascot. The lady that bought it was a young professional female, which was who I was going for as my target buyer, and her parents owned a beautiful, massive house in Ascot, Clayfield area, on a double block, and she wanted to be close to her parents in a nice area, but can't afford a beautiful big Queenslander house. So this is really upmarket. It did come up really nice.
Yeah, this looks unreal. It's completely different. Like this one here on the left looks like something you walk into and you want to walk out of. Like you do not feel comfortable. Like, I mean, what's with the barn doors in the
I know.
in the bathroom? This is very inviting. Okay, so I can see now why you made quite a bit of money. 100 and odd thousand. Yeah,
trying to think what the reno cost was on that one. Like I didn't want to put all my numbers in and stuff. Don't want to get audited.
What was the secret to? So you picked that up at 277. That's I look at things in the background and sort of see while we're sort of talking about things. That's a little bit. That was a pretty good price. What was how did you manage to secure that one at that price?
Yeah, I think my first offers were somewhere around like the 320 mark. But when I knew that no one was really interested and it had been sitting there for a little while, and I was cashed up buyer because I'd sold my property and I was like ready to go. So I didn't need a finance clause. And yeah, I thought I could be cheeky. And then I thought that number where I was going to offer like 285 or something, but 277 was the same number I bought the last one for. So I thought, why not give it a crack? It's way less than I thought I'd get an answer yes to, but yeah, I managed to get it for that.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can actually get away with when you just throw a number out there. Like there was a walkaway price that we had for 810, and we threw a, what did we get? 770, and then we ended up getting 777 because it sounded good. Like you don't have to go to your walkaway. I mean, right now in this very competitive market, it is very. I'd recommend getting close to your walkaway for value if it's a cracking deal, because it's very difficult to take advantage of these type of deals. But also, actually, there are some markets where you can be a little bit more cheeky, isn't there? Okay, so the question I have actually is going back to the start, not the start, but you were talking about the loan setup and where you have a loan with the bank. What's that, Jeff? Can we do this today in mortgage broker world? Because I know that we did it back in 2017. Can you explain it? And is it possible today?
I mean, you're really skirting. Yeah. I mean, it's loan portability. So it's a security substitution of security. So I mean, you just need to sort of. I mean, I would personally go and speak to you if you have a broker, which most people would. Chat to your broker and sort of understand the legalities around doing that sort of stuff and what criteria you need to tick. Because you just need to tick some criteria.
But you started a new business, so you can't borrow any money. That's what I don't understand. How did she?
Well, I mean, that's no, I mean that. Yeah, so you just need speak to your broker as a sort of say.
So you can get creative. Okay, so now we've flipped that.
You've made it so creative that we end up in orange jumpsuits.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get too creative. So we made 100 grand. What's next? And actually, before that, what are you looking for in these deals? Are you looking for a minimum of $80,000, a minimum of $60,000? Like, what are you kind of going for here?
At this point in time, I didn't value myself that much, which was paid off, because if I did, I would have just said no to everything that was put in front of me. I was like, what deal can I find? And what's the lowest I'm allowed to, am able to accept? You know, what, like 20,000, is that acceptable? If I'm pretty sure that 20,000 is the minimum, then I was happy to go for a deal that had minimum 20,000. Yeah. Why are you laughing?
That's great. It's the way to do it.
No, Jeff. Why is Jeff laughing?
I'm looking at Clayfield and just looking at. I mean, if anybody's bought in Clayfield recently, it's absolutely gone insane there. So something in the.
Jeff's giving me the disclaimer face.
Okay, go back to
it. Well, I mean, you haven't done bloody $20,000 profit just yet. You've been hitting hundreds. Okay.
Because PPRs are great. Like at the moment, the way that the tax system works out, like if you're prepared to live in dust, it will pay off. But it's not. It looks great how we're talking about it today, and my photos look amazing. But the dust was through my clothes like for months.
What's it that drove? I mean, sorry, she sort of already alluded to. So, what was it that drove you? Was it affordability in these areas? You saw opportunity. What was it drove you to rural Queensland? And where in rural Queensland did we go?
Yeah, well, no, we've been in Vegas the whole time, right? So now we're hitting up rural.
Yeah, we can talk about the rural one now. You can leave it up if you want.
Yeah.
Is it just me that could see that come and go?
See it. Okay. You can see what everyone else sees.
Yeah, so this one is the one where I did my first joint venture. And when I was looking after my own money and I could accidentally stuff something up, it was only my fault and I only had myself to blame and it was only my money. But when I started looking at doing a joint venture with somebody, I was very cautious because I didn't want, I was the doing party and he was the money party. And I didn't want to risk the money that he was putting in, even though we had an agreement that we would halve any losses that were made. I didn't want to make any losses, but I didn't want to cost anybody else any money. So I looked at how far I was prepared to travel and I looked for a buy-in budget of what I would like to put forward. And then I tried to find comparable sales between unrenovated and renovated properties and find a variation. So where are houses selling for really cheap for unrenovated and really expensive or a good profit amount, $100,000, $150,000 difference for the same house that's just been renovated.
Wow.
So that's how I came to this one.
Okay. And
that still possible to do today? Like, are there still these types of opportunities out there that you're seeing?
Yeah, deal number 19. It was a fair bit more of a drive, but definitely this deal again. It was this deal all over.
Can we go to deal 19? Let's do it. We can't talk about deal 19 if we don't go to. I just got to
Yeah.
find
Well,
it
what's
now.
this one? Let's explain this one. So
Okay.
give us the goods. Then we can
Deal
check out
19.
19. We're at 4.
I know, we got to start moving quicker. Yeah, so this one here, the person who owned the property, he had a family member living in it, and it wasn't that bad. It was a bit dirty inside, and it needed a painted roof. It needed painted weatherboards. The floor plan made it only like a one bedroom with 2 sleep outs. Actually, it was. So, and then I worked out that if I moved the kitchen into a sleep out, because the sleep out's got a low ceiling, which is why you can't call it a bedroom. It's not ideal for a bedroom, but it's fine for a kitchen. So I moved the kitchen into a sleep out, made the kitchen into a bedroom, utilized the plumbing that was already there and put an ensuite in one side of it, put a wall up in the dining room, made that another bedroom. So it's a 4-bed, 2-bath now.
Wow. That's a massive rejig.
Kind of, but not really. Queensland is a high set. You can get to the plumbing easy. It's a simple hole in the floor and the plumbing's done. So yeah, we just put up a wall, put in a door, and then, yeah, bit of work. At that stage, I was doing, the shower has a shower base and shower walls. So there was no tiling involved in the ensuite bathroom. It was just a plug and play shower. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sure somebody will ask this question either now or in 6 months' time, whatever it is. What sort of, because typically I imagine there was works more than 20K or whatever it is done. So I imagine you probably had to get some sort of ticks and approvals, or at least get some sort of thing done there. Or how did you run that? Feel free to not answer.
Yeah, you probably have to put the disclaimer up. Yeah, it's just a hard one. You just got to work with what you've got. Yeah, you just got to work with what you've got at the time. I was just out of a job, trying just to do my first deal. This is rural as well. There's no people that come and check quality of anything. Like, these people are living in, sheds around here. So
can we talk to the town? Or, like, I want to know. Like, if you don't want to, that's okay.
It's Maryborough. Which is in Queensland. And it's 3 hours drive from Brisbane. So I would drive up there, stay there for 4 or 5 nights in the house, work, and then come home for a weekend. So
yeah, it's interesting you talk to strategy, because somebody spoke about, and they said, "Oh, if somebody's not willing to travel, it's not as easy." And I said, "Well, yeah, okay,
yeah."
And that's why we spoke about creative. Like, if you want to get outsized results, you really need to, like, you are putting in the effort. You are sort of live, eating, and breathing property here. So that's why you're able to get those kind of results yourself.
Yep,
that's very true. So what did the profit? What did this look like? So the profit share was $20,000 between the two of you?
Yeah, I did actually do the FISO on this one. So you can ask me the numbers on the ones I did the FISOs on. Oh, I pulled it out. Okay, sorry. Tried to make the slides a bit simpler. Yeah, the profit was 54,000, and it was a 50-50 split.
Wow.
Having said that, though, we didn't actually sell. It sold 3 times and fell over. And in the end, my joint venture partner said, "I'm going to buy you out at the agreed market value that we agree on, so that you can be paid. I'll hold on to it as an investment for a couple of years or 1 year, and then I'll put it back on the market." And he did incredibly well. I think he pulled out another 150 because he held on to it for another year, and the market moved. So yeah, wow. But I got paid my market value as if it was sold. So I got 50% of that.
Oh, great! And he had the cash there to do it. So it's not always as easy as that sometimes, because the person won't have that cash because the cash is tied up in the deal.
Yeah. So we might have been stuck together for another year, which would have been fine, because we spoke about what exit strategies we were going to have, and it wasn't, between the two of us, we weren't going to make a loss, and we weren't prepared to drop our price. We were happy. He was happy to pay me out and just hold it for a bit longer, and it paid off for him.
Yeah. What was that?
Can we ask about? Yeah, I want to know, because somebody's suggesting that could cost sort of 20K, but I mean that seems like a lot for a hole. Like, I mean, I'm not a plumber, but what was the sort of, how much did that end up
What the
costing?
kitchen, the bathroom? What did we take it to? We took it from we rejigged everything.
2.2 to a 4.2, was it?
Yeah. 2.2 to 4.2 with a sleep out as well.
2.1 to 3.2. Yeah.
Yeah. So the shower tray, let me just try and remember. The shower tray was probably like $900. The walls for the shower, it might have even been secondhand. You know, like it probably was. I probably spent a whole day cleaning it to make it look new. The shower walls, they're just two pieces of plastic that you buy from Bunnings and put them together with a join, and I think it's $200. So, you know, you glue them to the walls, and then I didn't tile anything. I just painted the walls. Actually, no, the floor tiled the floor.
So were there any key learnings from that one? Because so far I've seen that you've made 100,000, 80,000, 130,000 by yourself. And then you flew all the way up to you drove all the way up to Maryborough, you did all the work, and then you took like $20,000 out of it. Like, is that good? Or I don't know. I mean, am I right?
How much and how much confidence did I have after doing this, and how much like the next person that I told about this deal, that I said, hey, I would really like to do a joint venture. I'm a renovator. Look at the renovation that I did. I've got the sales photos before and after. So, you know, you're paying for your education. I think, 20,000 was a bonus because I got, you know, a bit of money while I was learning all this stuff. And I didn't stuff it up.
So how did you organize the trades in the town? Like, I imagine you sort of maybe did some of it yourself, but did you, like, how did that process look like? What did that process?
Yeah. Gumtree, Marketplace, people like going to Bunnings myself and driving past an electrical vehicle, pull in and say, oh, hey, I've got a house that I just need a couple of things done on. Do you mind, you know, coming and giving me a hand? You know, saying to tradespeople, like, I just need you for a small job, and then getting them for the job, paying them for the job. And if they're good, and then you start to talk to them as well. And a lot of the trades, they want to kind of help you out. Like, some don't, and you don't want to get them back for the next job. So I never go get a quote for everything that needs to be done. I just get a trade in if I don't know them for one small job, just to see how it goes, trial it out. And then most of the time you end up chatting to them. So what are you doing here? You don't live here. No, I'm just doing this reno. Like, this is my first one. And like, oh, really? Oh, I can help you with that. Like, you know, people are most of the time nice. There's some people that you know, you're like, thank you very much. I won't be getting you back for the next job. But most people are pretty cool.
I like that. It's like a micro test of how something goes, because it's a nice little hack that people could consider doing. But I suppose the only challenge is they could do the small job really well and then get to the big job and then just get a bit sort of lax. But that's right.
Yeah, and you learn that more as you go, like what to look for.
Not in my scope, sorry. That's what you might have heard a few times. So what are the kind of key, like, you've done a lot of renovations. We're at deal 5, so I don't think we're going to make it to deal 21 at this pace and speed. But what are some of because you've done a lot of renovations, what are some of the key hacks that you've got for renovators? Like, what are some of the low value, low cost, high value things?
Okay, well, if we're talking about renovating, I love Bunnings and I love IKEA. I do IKEA kitchens, and I have worked out what I don't like about IKEA kitchens, and I've gotten my kitchen installer to, you know, work around those so that I'm not using everything IKEA. I get the kicks made, for example, off of a kitchen installer. I don't like the legs and stuff. Bunnings, in the end, like, I have spent so many hours pricing these discount builders warehouses and all these types of places that you go to, and 90% of my renovation budget comes from Bunnings. Unfortunately, I'd love to support the small businesses, but I've got a connection at Bunnings now. I've obviously got a Power Pass trade card, and I've gotten myself my own, like, they have business managers that look after certain businesses that have big accounts, and somehow I've managed to get myself onto that because I refer a lot of people to that person. So I got a lot of, I've tested and trialed different suppliers, and that's kind of what I've come down to. I do have little niche things that I go to certain places for, but it's all about just trial and error and seeing what works, what doesn't, and what you like. And I kind of stick to the same things every time and don't change a lot. Just my features, like my feature backsplash and things like that. I'm keeping everything else very, very similar.
Yeah.
What
just quickly,
power?
It's a 10% kind of wholesale, isn't it? What's the
no percentage varies. So if you've got an ABN number, you can apply for a power pass. I don't know if it has to be a building ABN number. I just think it's an ABN number. You apply for a power pass and they give you a discount. And if you are a painter, you get a little bit of a higher discount in the paint section. If you're a plumber, you get a bit of a higher discount in the plumbing section. So the discounts are varied. Smaller items have bigger percentages, I've found, and bigger items have smaller percentage discounts. And and a lot of stuff, if it's cheap, like all the Azito tools, they don't have any discount because they're already cheap. So
So what are some of the any other, like one of my favorite tips is, I know we've got Sparkies listening in here at the moment, but I once needed to do all the PowerPoints in the house that I was renovating. So I needed 13 PowerPoints done, and the guy was like, "Yeah, that'll be $900." And I was doing the math on it because I'm like, I can take one of those off in 2 minutes. And 19.
And electrocute yourself.
Well, you turn the switch off. This is not electrical advice. Not that I would, but I just did the math. I'm like, wait, how long does that take you to do? And the guy was like, "Oh, it'll take me 2 hours, maybe 3 if something gets a little bit hairy." I'm like, "How much do you charge for your time?" He's like, $80 an hour. And I'm like, 80 times 3 is not $900 for 13 PowerPoints. How much do PowerPoints cost? He's like, "Well, you go to Bunnings and they're not very much." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'll do that." And then anyway, he wasn't my electrician. And then I asked the guy, I'm like, "Mate, I've got how much is it for 3 hours of your time?" And he's like, $80
by
an
the
hour. Yep. Bought $50 worth of PowerPoints, got him in, he did it all, and saved me hundreds of dollars. So there's those little kind of tricks and hacks that you can take advantage of. Obviously, you got to make sure they are qualified Sparky. Are there any kind of like, that one for me was a bit of an interesting one. Not saying that I would use it going forward, but you can.
No, always.
And I might.
Always use it. By the hour. You'll never get a really, really good tradesperson to work by the hour because they're that good at what they do. They know they're not going to earn any money. So you kind of need to find tradies that are nearly qualified apprentices starting new businesses on high pages. If you put an ad up, people that have just moved to the area, it's not that they're a bad Sparky, but they've just moved, and they haven't got a client base yet. I've got my current Sparky. That's how I found him. And I asked for hourly. Now, to start off with, this made me so nervous because in my teachings as well, get quotes, get hard quotes, make sure you know how much it's going to cost. You can't do a FISO properly if you don't know how much it's going to cost. But I'm at the point now where I know how much things are going to cost. But you're never going to be able to save money by getting quotes. You just, at one point in time, you need to just switch to hourly rate, as many trades as you can. And go shopping, buy what you want to use. Some of the trades might turn up and say, "Oh, I don't like using that product. It's not good." So, you learn through these things, and through that I've changed the products that I've used. But all my trades, hourly rate, and I will go buy the products.
How much does that save you, do you think?
Like
on one job?
It's hard to calculate because I don't go get quotes anymore. I just do hourly rate. I don't know, probably like an electrical bill might be $4,000 for rewiring a whole house, that rather than where it normally would have been like $8,000. It can be that different.
Wow.
So.
Bloody hell. Okay. Now
I picked up 2 deals. I'm going to pick out 2 or 3 because we're not going to get to the next 17 or 18. So 2 that I think.
Okay. Well, let's go through. I want to go through these new deals, see some of Jeff's favorites, and then I want to hear from one of your favorites. But before we do that,
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special announcement from the master of commercial property investing, Steve Polisi.
I love commercial property.
Get ready to have your minds blown as Steve is back and he's got some pretty exciting news for us. Steve is unleashing his second sensational book upon the world, and get this, for the Oz Property Investors members out there, he's giving it away absolutely free. Yep, 100% free. Yep. 100% free for all property enthusiasts who want to learn and grow on their commercial property investing journey. But he's also added a little extra chili to make this deal even spicier. With this free book, you'll also receive a complimentary 1-hour strategy session with the man himself. Imagine a full 60 minutes with Steve's commercial and property genius dedicated to helping you master the intricate dance of commercial property investing. And who better to dance with the man who looked better than Patrick Swayze in Dirty Dancing? I don't know about that. Want to grab this offer? It's super easy. If you're live right now, click the link in the comments and secure it today. If not, grab your device, open up the browser, head over to polisiproperty.com, look for the book page and grab your free copy of Steve's latest masterpiece. And when you're checking out, make sure to use the exclusive code OZPROP to secure the free book and also your free 1-hour strategy session. My only concern with this offer is that Steve's going to have to turn it off soon, as he can only do so many sessions. So if you want to secure your spot, do so today. Oh, nearly passed out there.
There you go. Good old Pleasy. I want to even round out like some of these creative, because there's been so many, like not round out yet, but at some stage before we finish tonight, so just have a think about this, Kelly. I want to hear the sort of, if you could sort of sum it up in 3 to 5 tips as the creative, and it just be sort of 1 or 2 things. So I think that'd be great. But yeah, where did you want to go next? Sorry, Joe.
All right, I think I froze.
Did you?
You asked me a question?
Yeah. I said you before the break, for the ad, you wanted to, for the sponsor, you wanted to go to something. You wanted to talk about.
Yeah, what deals are we looking at? Which ones are your favorites? What number?
Yeah, so
tell me, I'll find it.
I mean, they're all great. Like I looked through them earlier today, and I was looking through them again. But if I look at one that really sort of is just an interesting one you took on, was deal number 6, which is the flip 2 bed and turn it into a free 2. But if you bring that screen up, I got it here. The thing that really made me kind of interesting was it's just so many sort of challenges you overcame. Like you had the overpriced listing. Yeah. Termite damage, wood rot, overgrown. And so how did you sort of play this particular deal, and talk us through the strategy on this one?
So yeah, I was trying to find another PPR to move into. And at this point in time, I was trying to go from a unit into a house. I wanted to start rescuing dogs, so I needed a yard. So the reason for choosing any deal that I've chosen is always like based around, well, what do I want to do in my life and how is the next deal going to fit into that? So this one was a house. It is in North Brizzy, is in Zilmere, which has a bit of a bad reputation. And it is in a little pocket where there's a few old commission houses. And this actually was it was an old commission house that their government allowed the owner to buy off the government when they built them. Oh, yeah. So it was an owner occupied house, but a few commission houses around, and it was a 2-bedder. And yeah, they really hadn't done anything except let it fall apart. And when I saw it come up for sale, I saw the price and I was like, that's not worth that amount of money. And I thought, well, I'm not even going to entertain the agent. I don't want to go to the open and make it look like I'm interested and add to other people thinking that there's interest in this property. I'm just going to ignore it for a couple of weeks because it's dead set price too high. Like no one's going to pay that for it. I think I might have called the agent and just asked him a few questions about what the interest was like on the property. And then after a few weeks, I started to, show my interest because I knew that there was no interest around, like no one else was interested anymore. So I think I might have found out, had there been a previous offer? What was the previous offer? Is that still on the table, or could I go in even lower than what the last previous offer was? I'm not quite sure exactly where it ended up, but yeah, I managed to get it for 350. I'm even looking at that now going, have I put the right number up there? I swear I double checked up here data. That's what I paid for it.
Things not crazy. I mean, this is 2019 pre-COVID, which after that, Brisbane's just gone insane.
Yeah. But it
Wait, you
was really
sold it
low,
for
but it was a two-bedder.
You sold it for $709,000. Jesus.
Yeah. But I
Post-boom.
put an extension on the back. So we lived in this renovation completely, and we gutted it and made the bedroom sleepable, and then we moved in. So that I then got plans done through the certifiers and the draftsy, and like I didn't get an engineer. It didn't need an engineer. It was just a box on the back and a deck. But yeah, I extended it and then moved the floor plan around to make it a 3-bed, 2-bath.
Take us to the next slide. Yeah.
Right.
That'll reveal more what it looks like.
5,700 for purchasing costs.
That's like conveyances and maybe not stamps.
It was a
Conveyances.
PPR. So yeah, and it was
That's
350. Stamp duty is really low when you get below 400,000.
Yeah, it's buying investment property for stamp duty in Queensland generally is quite high. It's high. It's somewhat,
but it's owner occupied. Yeah.
Cheaper. Yeah. That's what.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the floor plan, and then I think I've got some photos on the next one. And I actually put a little pool in. This pool's pretty cool. It's a skip bin pool, so it's a 6 cubic meter skip bin that I installed because I was going to live in this for a little while and get the renovation sorted. So yeah,
how does that go? Like, does it get like how does it? You literally you put a skip in there, right?
Yeah, this guy on the sunny coast had a house on a really steep block, and all the pool people were like giving him crazy quotes, like 200 grand, put a pool in because people are going to have to. There's no way to get machinery down this slope, and the side access was really bad. But a skip bin weighs only 500 kilos. They weigh a little bit more now because I think he's scoped it up a little bit. But yeah, he lines the inside with fiberglass and the outside with bitumen, and gets all the pumps and everything for you. It was a great pool. It's 3 meters, 3.5 meters by 2.5 meters or something similar to that. It was perfect.
Wow, that's unreal. Yeah. How much was that?
About 15 grand.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That adds.
Might be 18 these days, and that's no landscaping, no fencing, just the pool and the pump and delivery.
Yeah. So this is definitely an ugly duckling, isn't it? Like.
Yeah, and it had obvious termite damage in some spots as well, and yeah. But I sold that deck. Some guy came and took it down. Actually, maybe I just gave it to him for free. But he came and removed it. Spent 2 weekends there, pulling out all the screws and taking the deck away. And yeah. No, I think he paid me $400 for it. Actually. Yeah.
Let's not poke the bear.
The ATO bear.
Yeah.
No, I mean to answer that though, I mean in all seriousness, because you can move fairly regularly for all sorts of reasons. I mean, if you were to sort of do it, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying you seek your own accountant and get a private ruling if needed, but yeah, I mean, if you started doing it every 2 months or something like that, like I suppose we're sort of there's a couple in there, but like if you do it 3 or 4 times a year, they might sort of say, yeah, but this is not you're not doing it every You're doing it.
Yeah, I didn't do it every year.
Like rentals as well. Like I was in rentals for ages, and it's constantly changing. It's just I got frustrated with rentals just because the tenant would want to keep it, and then the vendor would want to keep it, and we'd have to leave. And but I do think that if you can do the whole PPOR value add and keep it and add value to it and sell it, like capital gains tax is very expensive. It takes a lot of profit, and if you can do it, not financial advice and all that nonsense. Yep. Okay, cool. So what are the? I mean, I feel like if we do the disclaimer once, we can just leave it. I think it's done.
Just keep it up.
So give us to go through what happened. $176,000. That's nice. That's very nice.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, it's a lot of hard work. We were in it for 2 years in the end, just because it took that long. I wanted to learn how to do the structural reno and learn all the stuff, how to do it. I wasn't an owner builder or anything, and got a builder to do all the work. So yeah.
And then
there you go.
All that did was add an extra bedroom, extra bathroom, turn the sunroom into a bathroom. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? I know this is hard to quantify, but people talk about this. They say like these value add projects often you sort of are not getting. I mean, you're essentially getting like Brisbane moved a lot in this time. How much do you think?
Yeah.
And it's hard to quantify, but how much do you think you made based on the renovation versus just market movement?
Oh, yeah. 3 months before I sold this property, my FISO said I was going to earn $20,000.
Wow.
The market moved.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Wow,
the market moved. So, but I have also, before this deal and the deal that I was in after this deal, they were very small profits because, I was in a deal, but the market didn't move in those ones. So as long as you're always in the market whenever you can and have as many fingers in the pies, as many properties as you can have in the market, then, you're going to have the most amount of luck, aren't you? So, but this is the one that I was in when the market moved. So yes.
No, I mean, yeah. No, but I think it's still a great opportunity though anyway, because you saw where other people weren't going to buy this property, you actually were able to sort of see what you could potentially do to it, and market's going to move either way. It doesn't,
Yeah.
Anyone throw your questions and comments below. We are getting towards the tail end of the show, so I do want to cover off a couple more of the deals. Which one was your favorite one, Kelly? Which was which was the creme de la creme, the one that gave you the most excitement and joy? Not necessarily the highest profits, but the ones that taught you a lot.
Pick a favorite child. Yeah.
Oh, you just changed my mind because you're like, what was my favorite? And then you went, and what taught you the most? Well, they're totally different. The ones that taught me the most probably not my favorite.
Okay, what was your favorite?
My favorite is deal number 8.
Deal number 8. So, JV unit renovation flip, Metro Brisbane North. Oh, really? Well, you've gone from 260 to 390. Why? I mean, that's great. Don't get me wrong, but it's not knock the lights out. Why is this one your favorite?
So this one, it was when we were kind of in lockdowny kind of, Queensland didn't really have lockdown, but it was when COVID was happening and everybody was thinking,
a couple of months.
Don't buy properties, wait and see what happens. And this seller wanted to go back to Ireland, and he'd been living in here with his son, drinking his life away, smoking his life away. So when you walked in this unit, it was stained with cigarette tar on the ceiling and the feet stuck to the floor from red wine being poured. And it had a bar in the middle of the lounge room that you can see there. That was a proper Irish bar built into the lounge room. And I figured, like, hey, if the market goes down, like everybody's about, like people were saying the market was going to drop 30% or whatever they were saying, 30, 40, something. Yeah. And I was like, if it goes down, I'm pretty sure I could rent this at about even. I won't lose anything and I'll just hold on to it. And these joint venture partners, we really wanted to do a deal together. So I probably could have done it on my own, but I wanted to, like, it's so much fun when you do it with somebody, especially if you both wanting to get in and do some stuff. So, and we were both doing parties as well. So we went into it and it took 4 weeks. We just turned it from a 2-bed, 1-bath into a 3-bed, 1-bath. The bathroom was big enough to turn into 2, but it would have cost way too much money. And the comps didn't really say we were going to get that money back. So we saw value in making the old dining room a bedroom, moving the door to the kitchen. The lounge room was massive, so it's a lounge dining. So, yeah, add a room.
Wow.
Yeah, and adding it super cheap.
Did you chat to Strata, or they were like, nah, don't worry about it?
I was going to ask that, but I thought maybe I shouldn't ask that.
Similar to the last one, there was a builder that lived in the building. It's block of 5. There's a builder that lived in the building and he'd renovated the same as I wanted to do, similar to, actually he did a lot more than what I was going to do. So there had already been that done in the unit. And then, so there was him, and he was lovely to chat to, and he knew that it was going to lift the value of the complex. And then there were 2 renters in there. And then the only other owner occupier, she was in hospital. She was an elderly lady and she'd been in hospital for a couple of months. So I thought, great, let's get in and get this done. So we're not, annoying her with noise in the middle of the day while she's, when she comes back. And yeah, we had it done in 4 weeks. So before she got back.
Yeah, this is unreal. Like you bought this in March and you sell it in May,
Yep.
like $81,000 in a couple of months, literally a couple of months. That's
So
awesome.
the key thing was like people were walking in and going, oh, this is too much. And to be honest,
Yeah.
those photos make it look pretty good. They had it brightened and you couldn't really tell. Also, he left everything. So everything in that unit I had to sell on Marketplace. I was quite surprised. It's quite popular, that furniture.
The bar,
Retro.
the clocks, all of that stuff.
The bar I had to give away. No one wanted to buy it in the end.
Oh, is
not
this
in my
it?
timeline anyway.
Is the one? Yeah, before and after deal 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus, you do a lot, don't you? You don't mess around.
You have an eye for renovation.
Taking it to that, from that to that, this bathroom. So how much was the reno? You spent $16,000 to change this house to this.
We got our hands very dirty, me and my JV partner. We were there every day. There was a great coffee shop like a couple of doors down. So it was fun going to work with a friend and bringing our vision together. And yeah, we did better than what we thought we were going to do. Once again, our market was for a female professional, and we had 3 female professional jobs out bidding against each other on this property when we went to market. So that's how we ended up with better than what we thought, because they all wanted it.
Yeah, love it. I want to go to, so Jeff's had his deal, you've had your deal. I want to go to my deal. This one looks
Can
like...
it be a post-COVID, please? Yeah, we go. Is it COVID? Yeah.
It needs to be more recent.
Pretty much.
So deal 15, JV, reno, add a bathroom, flip, a rural house. So where's this one located? Like
this is in Ayr, AYR. It's an hour south of Townsville. It's 3 days to drive to. And I had to drive because I had to take all my tools and had to take my dog.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you bought April 2022 for $118,000.
Yes. Sight unseen.
Of course. Why would you?
No floor plan. But when there's enough photos, after you've been doing it for a while, you can pretty much work the floor plan out. Yeah. And I also knew somebody who lived in Bowen, and she drives quite regularly to Townsville. So I said, hey, you going past Ayr anytime soon? She said, yes. I said, great. Can you stop in and do a walkthrough video for me? Because this agent probably wouldn't know how to do a walkthrough video. So
taking photos of the keys. He's got wood paneling. Okay. So what was it like when you walked in? What was the expectation? So we like to do boots on the ground. We like to inspect and do...
Oh, I had been there before. I'd been to Ayr before.
Okay. You knew of the area.
I knew the area.
What was it like walking in? Were you like, oh my gosh, I've made a massive mistake? Or, oh yeah, this is what I expected? Like, what did that look like?
So by the time I got there, I had arranged for a local handyman to strip the place. So all the flooring was removed, the kitchen was removed, the bathroom was removed, the curtains. So he had everything. What I didn't do is tell him to order a skip. So when I got there, I had to do like 5 tip runs. But anyway.
Well, to be honest, you probably would have filled the skip and you'd need like 6 of them.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so I got there and it was gutted and it was freezing. I ended up, like, the sleeping bag that I had wasn't enough. I had to wrap myself in drop sheets because it was that cold. Should have gone and stayed in a hotel. Should have gone and stayed in a hotel.
Actually, this is 2000. This is 22. This is not too long ago, Kelly.
I hadn't had a good look back at what I'd done so far. You know, I still thought I hadn't made it.
That's awesome.
But you know, I saw the advantage of just like sticking it out. Oh, I had my dog with me. I couldn't go stay in a motel. There you go. I couldn't.
Yeah, that's a good excuse. You got your car.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one tip, actually. One of my tips is do not get the smallest skip bin ever. Ever get the smallest skip bin, because they have like small, medium, and large, and the large is massive, and the small, you're like, yeah, I could fit everything in there, and it doesn't fit anything. So always go to large.
Yeah. It's only an extra couple hundred normally, like if that.
There's not too much more, and then you get this bloody little one. You're like, I've made a mistake.
And those Tetris skills that you learned from a kid,
yes,
they really come in handy.
Okay, so let's have a look at the numbers on this one then. Okay, so we bought it for $118,000. So did you use debt? Like what are we talking in terms of finance to get these things?
So no, I didn't. I didn't want to do this deal. My partner's friend, he asked me to help him to buy some properties, and I said, yeah, sure, I'll help you out. He sent me a picture of a unit and in a rural town, and I said, mate, that's not a good deal. And I saw this one come up because I knew the town. I'd already bought in the town before, so Facebook knows everything on the internet, knew that I was looking in that area. So it sent me this property, and I sent it to him and I said, mate, buy this one. Go up and do a reno. You'll be right. Like, this is way better than the unit that you're looking at. Like, you can get some good uplift in this. And he then rang my partner and said, hey, in the school holidays, they're school teachers, in the school holidays, you, me and Kelly will go up and do a reno. And my partner's like, yeah, sure, which he never meant he'll do it. And then he rings me and he goes, Kevin's in. We're all going to go up and do the reno together. We're going to do a JV. And I was like, okay. Anyway, somehow I got talked into it. So I didn't really want to do it. So your question was how to get the funding. I put in 50% cash. He put in 50% cash. And the deal was he came up with me and we did it together. In the end.
Did you negotiate it incredibly well? Like, is this an amazing price, or is this like, yeah, no, we bought
it? I think it was on the market for 125 or 130. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then, talk us through.
So yeah, before I got up there, I wasn't sure because I hadn't been in there if I could do two bathrooms. So I was like going up there thinking this might be a 3-in-1, just a reno, or if I could squeeze a second bathroom in, I knew that I could probably get another 20-30K out of the sale, because the pricing difference when I looked at comparable sales was about $30,000 to put an extra bathroom in. So I arrived, I measured it out, and I thought, yep, I can stick a second bathroom in here. So I'd already had the kitchen ordered. So off the measurements that my friend had given me, I'd ordered the kitchen, got it. I picked it up from Townsville while I was up there, and then I styled it myself because there's no stylist in town. So went to TK Maxx, went around and bought people's furniture from Marketplace, Kmart, all the fun shops.
What did you do? Did you just sell it with the furniture? Were you just like, nah, screw it, you guys can just have it?
No, I sold a lot of any of the big stuff I sold. I bought some stuff back with me, and then my real estate agent still has a pile of stuff in her office that I said I would come up and get, and I haven't been up there.
So what do the numbers look like on this? So 280,000 sale minus.
So the reno was it was a lot because it needed a roof. It needed a re-roof. And this is another thing that I look for. Renos that need a roof or stumps, because I'm in Queensland, so lots of places need stumps. That scares a lot of people off. Termites scare a lot of people off. I do a lot of those deals. If it needs a roof and new stumps and it has termites, that's too much. Like, it needs to be bulldozed.
One of the three, not three.
One of the three.
Right.
But yeah, it needed a new roof. So I organized that while I was up there. So yeah, I spent about 60 something. Where are the numbers? 69,500 for the reno costs. So the profit was 57,000 divided by 2, and minus the tax man.
Yes. Yeah. Because you're not living in air. You're definitely not.
I lived in it. Technically, I did. Maybe I should have played that card. I was living in it.
There's a couple of good questions that have popped up. Well, this one, I guess, at this volume now, you've done 21. Like, how are you finding these properties? Have you got any kind of tips and tricks for people to find deals and do that kind of stuff?
Persistence. It's not as easy as it looks now. Like, this takes a lot of work. You need to do the numbers, you need to do the comparisons, and you get better and better the more you look at working out what isn't a deal and what is a deal. It's just persistence and learning. There's no shortcut. It takes a long time to find it. Like, I've gone from doing this for myself and trying to find the one next deal to working with you, Joe, and trying to find 10 deals at once. And it's crazy because, yeah, there's a lot involved and you need to check everything out, which is also a positive too, because if a property doesn't check out, then you just write it off. And that's one more step to the property that's going to be a good property, because there's plenty of crap properties out there. So many properties that they've got something wrong with them and it's not always obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's half the battle is getting all of those no's to be able to be left with a yes. And then when you get a yes, you can go confidently ahead and push forward with the deal and negotiate as best you can to get it. But yeah, it does. It takes a lot of time. What about relationships? Like, like for agents, did you build relationships with agents? I mean, a lot of this was in Brisbane and then it started to evolve in different locations. But what are your thoughts on relationships with agents and those type of things?
It's really hard because a lot of the time with the deals that I found, the agent that was selling the property or the property that I was chasing was for sale by an agent who isn't necessarily the agent that you want to build the relationships with. That they're sometimes like the agent that lets properties go a little bit cheaper than they should, or so I was building good relationships with agents around me, but I was finding that the agents that I was building relationships, they didn't always pay off. They were lovely to chat to. I could call them up and ask them for their opinion on something. It was great because they could say, "Oh, that's really cheap. You should get that." But they weren't presenting good value properties. They were always trying to do the best by their sellers, and they were good at what they did. So unless all the circumstances meant that it was a bargain because it needed a reno, then the relationships weren't amazing.
That's another good tip as well, actually, is when you're chatting with an agent and they find a good deal, is like mention that you're trying to sell, you're going to renovate and flip this deal, and I'm going to need an agent on the other end. Now, I'm not saying that a real estate agent, if they smell another commission coming, that they're going to give you a great deal right now, but it's worthwhile mentioning because you never know. You might be able to get an agent to sell you a property over somebody else because you have a better relationship and you're going to sell the property. You don't have to promise them that you're going to sell them to, especially if they're a dodgy agent and they've sold it rubbishly for you. That's what they're going, for the vendor, that's what they're going to do for you. But it's a worthwhile thing to mention. Yeah,
you can definitely use it sometimes. But to be honest, sometimes the agents that aren't that good, if you mention something like that to them, they're like, "No, that's not going to happen." They don't react. Like, it's like, well, that was useless. I thought I'd get excited about being able to sell it a second time, but they're like, that's not going to happen. People say that all the time.
I'll still give you 10 grand off. That's fine. Don't you worry. Okay, let's jump into questions. Guys, we've had an amazing walkthrough of Kelly and her experience going over so many deals. We're only at this was number 15, but we only got through so many. There was so much learnings along the way. Throw any questions that you got. There's a great one that came in. How much of the hands-on stuff do you do nowadays, or is it all different and project managed? Because I mean, like, you're very busy right now trying to find, negotiate, secure amazing deals for clients.
Yep.
You don't really have time to be getting hands-on and sleeping in air and doing this. So what's the plan? How are you going to do it?
So I'm currently in a PPR renovation right now. We've been in it for nearly a year. I now buy the properties, renovate the inside, and then move in. So I don't live in a reno anymore. I can afford to, pay 2 mortgages for a couple of weeks while I'm doing a reno. But at some stage as well, a while back, I switched, and not all the time, but I can now be a joint venture partner with people that want to do the doing. And I have done that with people that I've met along the way. So I've got JV partners that do the doing, and I can now fund the project. I still like to be a bit hands-on. Like, I want to choose what the finishes are going to be. And I've got a list of stuff that I use regularly that I just redo the same as what I did before. But one of the last deals that I did, I just kind of like checked in once a week. I went to visit them, had lunch with them, had a chat to them, and then they did all the work and we just split the profits.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone's saying, pick me, Kelly, pick me. Do it for me. Yeah. I love the switch to money partner, because that's kind of where you're at now, isn't it? It's kind of you can then outsource your time and energy, find these deals, and then do the deals.
Yeah, and I'm doing a subdivision right now too, so that's a hands-off deal. I don't really like it because I prefer having a bit more control over what happens instead of letting the council control and the town planner and the engineer control everything. I really don't like it.
Subdivisions can really drag on as you think.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
thank God it had a portion of a reno in there, and that made me happy. So.
Great comment here is, do you see yourself doing much in Brisbane now with prices like this? Because you have been buying a lot of low value prices, but is that because that's what you can afford? And Brisbane's moved a lot. What are your thoughts to answer this question?
Yeah, I think there's still money to be made if you can afford to buy a $1 million or a $1.5 million house and sell it for a $2 million house in Brisbane, but there's just nothing low end because there's no stock. So so people are just paying their max budget to get into the bottom end, and there's no variance between unrenovated and renovated properties. So you either need to buy something that you're going to hold for a long time because Brisbane is growing, so you're going to get the growth, but you just can't manufacture the growth and sell and pay stamp duty and pay the buying costs and the selling costs and the renovation costs and make profit in Brisbane right now. Like, definitely someone could prove me wrong because they could, find a deal through a certain way, maybe a friend selling a house, or like find a deal that comes on and they can jump on it really quickly, and they might be able to pull something out of the hat out of the ring, or there's something really wrong with the property that's turning a lot of people off, like roofs and stumps and stuff like that. But generally, I've been looking for a little while, since before the air property, I've been looking for a Brisbane flip close to home because I didn't want to travel that far. And other than the PPR that I'm living in now, which we managed to get a year ago, almost a year ago, they're just, and the numbers in a flip for this probably didn't stack at the time either. It had to be, we need somewhere to live, so let's live in it and ride the year out as well and renovate it. So I can't see a lot of opportunities between low end to mid end, which is what I usually try and do. Buy at the bottom, sell at the mid, because you want to sell where there's the most amount of people buying, and there's just not enough variance.
Yeah, someone said here that's what we're seeing as well. No difference in renovated and unrenovated unless it's in a flood zone. Very slow to find anything. But I also think it's kind of, as prices move up, it depends on the area. Like, I look in Cronulla, and if you want to buy something that has a subdivision potential, you have to pay $6 million for it. So if you do, but what does that mean? What do? You just don't do anything? No, you have to move out to an area that if you're doing subdivision, you can afford. I see so many people just look in their backyard. Well, I can't afford property investing. I can't even afford a unit in Cronulla. Well, then get out of Cronulla. Look outside your backyard. There are so many air. I mean, you bought this property in air for $118,000 and sold it for $280,000. So there are $280,000 properties out there that you guys can go out and buy, but you're going to have a little bit of sweat equity in there.
Yeah.
Any other questions that you had, Jeff?
No, I mean, there's a couple in there, but I am mindful of time. Also mindful of
that time did move very quickly.
Let me just see. I kind of want to ask, but that's a long question. So I think we ask that, we'll go on for another 10 minutes. Let's see. Well, I want to ask. I'm just trying to think.
What do you want to ask, Jeff?
Yeah. What are you like? I did ask this about 40 minutes ago, so I pre-planned this question, so you've had time to think about it. So if you haven't, it's not my fault. What are the sort of 3 to 5 key lessons from all of your journey you've learned that people can take away today?
Bloody hell. You answer that question, Jeff. What are your key 5 questions? It's a tough question to ask.
Well, no, but I said it.
Thanks for having my back, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, I could answer that,
Kelly.
I could answer that. Yeah, pretty
I suppose I'm probably not going to answer this fluidly, but the points that I want to make are you don't always know that it's going to work out how you hope it's going to work out. But if you're careful with what you do and you're cautious and you do it for long enough, then the chances are it's going to be okay, and hopefully better than what you're predicting if you're being on the cautious side of it. Another thing is, like, don't expect too much. Like, oh, we'll meet people that like, oh, I'd love to do a JV with you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And ask them a few questions. And like, I don't take on any new JV partners at the moment, by the way. And they're like, yeah, but minimum, like, so, the simple questions are like, where are you prepared to go? How much have you got to spend? So what areas would we be looking in? And, what type of, minimum profits would you be happy to get? Like, as a money partner where you don't have to lift a finger, if I can say that we should have it done in 6 months, I wouldn't do it for less than 50 grand. I wouldn't get out of bed for less than 50 grand. So, well, you're not really having to do anything anyway. I took that deal in air with my joint venture partner because I thought this is a relationship building exercise. He's never invested in property before. He's a friend of my partner. I trust him. I know him well enough to trust him. But also he's got big borrowing capacity and he hasn't really used much of it. So if this deal goes well, this is only a $118,000 deal. This is a good way to see if it goes well. And if it does, we didn't make much money this time, but maybe next time we could go do something bigger together. But maybe not. Like, if it doesn't work out, we've still made money.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a great way to.
There's two.
Look at it. What about you, Jeff? What's one of yours?
So can I share three? I can share them quickly. So I didn't plan this question just with me, but no. So number one, it's never not taking no for an answer. Like, from deal one, you literally were knocking on doors to find that deal. Like, that is an absolute slam me in the face. That is a takeaway that because people are like, oh no, I can't. My borrowing capacity is not there, and it's like, oh, I don't have the time. It's like, well, what do you need to do in your life? Because we've all gone through those sort of stages where you lose motivation. Number two is, just being flexible. Like, you move from sort of rural up to sort of, you made it sort of happen regardless of you were flexible with. And then I think number three is you're absolutely very sort of had a clear and structured process on the deal. Like, just looking through that, it's very calculated the way that you constructed the renovation. Like, it wasn't sort of haphazard. You thought about it and actually led to, well, here's my outcome and here's what I'm likely going to get for profit. And it may not have planned out exactly, but you had that sort of understanding where it was going to go.
Yeah. Love that. Oh, well done, Jeff. Well placed.
I don't know. I just thought about that.
Should have asked.
What's your number three, Kelly?
My what I found interesting about this and what are my key takeaways from this session is, like, how you're selling. At the beginning, you sold your properties to continue your property investing journey. So selling is not the be all, like, is not the scariest thing. You own that property for 10 years. It did what it needed to do for you. And then you ended up moving it on and selling it and shifting it along. So that's, you did what you needed to do. And there's so many people that I see that are not doing what they need to do. You need to save a bigger deposit. You need to create more income. You had a housemate and did Airbnb. So you took the sacrifices and made it happen. And then along the journey, you're like, I still like 21 renovations. We got to like 6 of them. So you've been consistently showing up every single day to property and making it happen. So if anyone has any other key takeaways, throw what your golden nugget from this session is. But that's exactly why I wanted to get you in our business to find us properties, Kelly, because you crush it. You know what property is, you know what a good deal is, and you go after it, and you haven't stopped since 2007. So you should be very proud of the.
Oh no, I definitely stopped then. 2017.
Okay.
That's when I really started.
Sleep in a swag. Yeah. That's what they say. That's the tips. This has been an unreal session, Kelly. How can people learn more about you, get more Kelly in their life? How does this, what can they do?
Well, at the moment, I'm putting the renovations aside, apart from the PPR that I live in and the subdivision that I'm doing on the side that I'm not doing because it's very hands-off. And I'm working with Joe to find properties for clients all different types of deals. So not so much as renovator as this, unless you want to, because I love finding renovation deals. But it would be more for, a long hold. You wouldn't be looking to flip anything unless you wanted to take on the risk of doing it in air. That sat on the market for 3 months to sell, by the way. There's different things in play when you go rural. You've got to be prepared for that.
You do, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm enjoying finding deals for people that don't have the time, or just to stop you from buying a dud, really, to get the good deals, because it's very easy to not see what's wrong with the deal. So
Love it.
There you go.
Well,
now, thanks for coming on, Kelly, and sharing your wisdom. Like we almost need a part 2 and 3 of this, but just to talk to the deals. And I like to sort of try and get as much sort of actionable sort of things. And I just feel like we could have a whole session on those action items, but appreciate you taking the time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly. This
Thanks
was
for having
unreal.
me.
Great learnings, great lessons for everyone. Thank you for everyone that stayed on and watched the whole thing. And we will catch you on the next one. Let's go buy a property. See you later. Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye.